Hello, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Emmy the Cat Lady, and you join me back here at Caesar's tent, which is all very fancy, because we're continuing with our profile of some of the prominent members of Caesar's Legion. So today I want to talk about Vulpes Inculta, the fanatical Mr. Fox, and it's highly likely that you've met this man through your playthrough of Fallout New Vegas. He might even be the first member of Caesar's Legion that you come across, especially if you're following the intended path through the game. He does wear a Vexillarius helmet there, which has a dog's head when he's in Nipton. He's an interesting character. As mentioned, he's disliked by Legate Linnaeus, but he's one of Caesar's most trusted subordinates. He's in charge of spies and infiltration for the Legion, and his name was intended to mean Desert Fox, but Inculta translates as uncivilized. It is also the feminine form, but we're not judging that. Vulpes means fox in Latin, and it is the Latin genus for the species, so Vulpes is the red fox. See also Vulpix, the Pokemon. So where did he come from? Well, so here he is, Vulpes Inculta. So you can ask Caesar about him at some point, apparently not at this point. But he was brought into the Legion as a child, and from a tribe living in the southern part of Utah. He rose to the rank of Decanus, which means that he was in charge of a small group of 10 soldiers called a contubernium. These groups were under the command of a centurion, who typically commands 100 men. You can see that Caesar really did his homework here with these, because we know that Deca means 10, cent means 100, so that, you know, that's kind of how the Romans organised their military, so Caesar's been, he's taken that into account, not just the outfits. So, during a battle against an apparently unimportant tribe, Vulpes broke rank and led his contubernium through a gap in the tribe's defences and captured their chieftain, securing the victory. His centurion was a wee bit upset about his disobedience and called for Vulpes to be crucified, but Caesar saw the potential in him and instead made him a frumentari, which is kind of more specialised kind of operative for the Legion, so not just rank and file soldiers or commanders of soldiers. So Vulpes became quite well known for his tactics and his spying capabilities, although not everyone approved of his methods. As I mentioned, Legate Linnaeus in particular does not see the point in fighting with words and believes in a more direct, honest, face-to-face kind of warfare, but clearly Caesar sees the value in Vulpes' skill set. So he became the leader of the Frumentari and has quite the record of achievements during the ongoing campaign against the NCR over control of Hoover Dam and the Legion's other engagements. So let's take a run down his rap sheet, shall we? Okie dokie, so I've just transported into another save file to take a visit to Nipton here. Oh, here he comes. Very happy with himself. That's, if you don't know, that's Oliver Swanwick. He normally comes running straight up to you, but yep. So we're here at Nipton, which was obviously a little town at some point in its history.
Yeah! Who won the lottery? I did!
Good for you.
Smell that air! Couldn't you just drink it like booze?
It is full of smoke, but yeah. You okay?
Are you kidding me? Never felt better. Yeah.
Okay. See you later. Have fun. Bye. We'll get into what he's so excited about in a little bit, but you can see Legion have planted some flags here. So Vulpes had a number of different kind of achievements, if you want to use that word. That's probably what Caesar would be happy about. So firstly, he was instrumental in the destruction of the Twisted Hares tribe at Dry Wells, which is of course Ulysses' tribe, that were based in Arizona. Any who resisted the Legion were crucified along the I-40, the interstate, presumably as a warning to anyone else that would resist the Legion. He made arrangements with the Omertas to sow chaos on the strip to destabilise it and stop Mr. House from interfering with the Second Battle of Hoover Dam. So that's why the Omertas are acquiring explosives and smuggling huge amounts of guns into the strip, which the courier can interfere in or aid depending on their affiliations. He ordered the invasion of Nelson, which I'll show you on the map. So Nelson is somewhere in this region. I can't remember exactly where it is now, but it's a town that the NCR had a garrison in, but it was poorly defended, so Vulpes ordered Dead Sea to invade Nelson at the same time. He also set up the Dirty Bombing Camp Searchlight, which is, I know where that is, that's there. I sent some legionaries in to open containers of old nuclear waste that was being stored in the town's fire station. The legionaries died, but so did a whole bunch of NCR troopers. Those that survived became ghouls, almost all of them feral ghouls. So this kept the NCR out of the area, forced them to kind of retreat a little bit, and allowed the Legion to set up their outpost at Cottonwood Cove. This gave them a base on that side of the Colorado River, and the pier made for easy transport back and forward towards the fort. And obviously, being here, we can't really forget the massacre of Nipton. So this was a town that was full of kind of debauchery and, there was prostitution and gambling and whatnot, the usual sort of thing. So the NCR soldiers from the Mojave outpost frequented the place, and then the powder gangers started coming in as well. So the mayor of the town thought he could make himself a good bit of cash. So Mr. Fox, Vulpes, met with the mayor of Nipton and offered him 8,000 caps to lure both powder gangers and NCR troops into town on the same day into a trap set by the Legion. Of course, the mayor didn't really think that he was going to be caught in the net as well. So everyone was corralled into the centre of town and given a lottery ticket. Tickets were drawn, and this would decide your fate, which was death mostly. Some people were decapitated, which made them the lucky losers. Others were crucified. As we can see, we've got some powder gangers here on like telegraph poles, telephone poles, whatever they are, being crucified. So you can be kind enough to mercy kill these poor guys. You can't let them down because they're so weak, but you can put them out of their misery if you want to do so. The third place winners were enslaved, so great. Second place was a powder ganger by the name of Boxcars, and you can find him here in the Nipton General Store, or Trading Post. I think the thing calls it the General Store. So he was allowed to live, but both his legs were broken, and so he's been left stuck on a chair in there to stew in his pain and anger. And then Oliver, who we met on the way into town, he was the winner and was allowed to go free, which he was obviously extremely happy about. Understandable. So what about our friend Joseph, the mayor, who wanted to profit off of all of this? He met quite a grisly fate when his ticket came up. He was burned in a tyre fire. I'm not sure exactly, I can't remember if we know which one, because there's quite a few fires around here. Probably one of the ones at the front so that everybody would see it. Because that's sends the right message, so to speak. So it's not just, coming in and just shooting a bunch of people. It's very methodical, very brutal, very twisted. And that was kind of the point, to prove that nobody's beyond the reach of the Legion, and also to prove that when it came down to it, people wouldn't necessarily defend each other. Because one thing that Vulpes notes is that most of the people just stood by and let it happen without resisting. There is evidence that some people fought back, but by and large, the people of the town decided not to, and unfortunately paid the ultimate price for that. So the aim is to put the fear into enemies of Caesar, which it does if you notice Sergeant Kilbourne's reaction to the news of the Legion atrocities here. He just sounds so defeated and so depressed, and he's just completely lost hope at that point, which is, interesting. And Vulpes wants you to spread the word as well, so it's definitely attention-seeking behaviour. So let's step forward and have a chat with the man. So once you approach the town hall here he comes with his Legion buddies and his dogs.
Don't worry. I won't have you lashed to a cross like the rest of these degenerates. It's useful that you happen by. I want you to witness the fate of the town of Nipton, to memorize every detail. And then, when you move on, I want you to teach everyone you meet the lesson that Caesar's Legion taught here. Especially any NCR troops you run across.
So there we go. That's what he wants us to do. He wants us to spread the word, especially to the NCR, and that starts Cold Heart, which you complete by talking to Sergeant Kilborn, who's wandering about outside the Mojave outpost, and then you just basically to completely ruin that man's day, and that's that done. What lessons did you teach here?
Where to begin? That they are weak and we are strong? This much was known already. But the depths of their moral sickness, their dissolution, Nipton serves as the perfect object lesson.
Okay, what exactly happened?
Nipton was a wicked place, debased and corrupt. It served all comers, so long as they paid. Profligate troops, powder gangers, men of the Legion, such as myself. The people here didn't care. It was a town of whores. For a pittance, the town agreed to lead those it had sheltered into a trap. Only when I sprang it did they realize they were caught inside it too.
Okay.
Yes, and herded them to the center of town. I told them their sins, the foremost being disloyalty. I told them that when legionaries are disloyal, some are punished, the others made to watch. And I announced the lottery. Each clutched his ticket, hoping it would set him free. Each did nothing, even when loved ones were dragged away to be killed.
So, yeah, there we go. And I think it's interesting that, you know, he's talking about the people and how they're whores. So is that people were coming here to drink, to gamble, to make use of the services of prostitutes, and that they didn't care who it was. But the disloyalty and things, because it is something that the Legion demands is loyalty, and that's something that Vulpes himself is particularly something that he values more than anything else. He will kind of express distrust of you until you prove yourself to him and that you prove that you're on the side of the Legion. So some of the things that he says to you in Caesar's camp does suggest that he has been keeping track of you. Probably, I mean, it should be in theory after this meeting if you're following the normal path, but there is different dialogue if you meet him at the strip and then come here, and there's a different person. If you kill him before coming to Nipton, there's a different person here. Same goes for when he approaches you at the strip. So, you know, you can get different dialogue depending on what order you visit the different locations, and where you encounter Vulpes. But yeah, so you know, this kind of thing, it's not just a mass slaughter. It's not just mindless violence. It's all very deliberate, very calculated to send a message to, you know, to punish these people in horrible ways for what the Legion deems inappropriate and debased behaviour, which, you know, is they're coming in and basically forcibly implementing their own morals and their own rules in territory that they don't yet control. And, you know, it's something that it really has an impact on people, because it's not just seeing people that you care about just getting murdered or people getting crucified and things. It's the lottery, which obviously gambling's a big thing in Vegas, both the real world and in this game, that, you know, people still do want to gamble. So a lottery is a perfect indication of, you know, how gambling doesn't pay, and it's not something that you should be doing. That's kind of the message here. So it's really quite interesting the method by which he did this. And if you say here the last two options, that they got what was coming to them or that you admire the purity of the Legion's justice, he actually does quite like you saying that. So
it has a stark beauty, doesn't it? I'm glad you can appreciate it. Now go and teach them what you learned here. There will be more lessons in the days ahead.
There we go. And then they wander off and eventually make their way down to Cottonwood Cove. If you follow them, that's what will happen. If you don't follow them, I think they just disappear off the map after they're kind of out of sight of you. So Vulpes Inculta is definitely a member of a very exclusive club in Fallout New Vegas. He's one of only 5 NPCs with a very evil karma level. And you can see why, given that conversation that we just had with him and the fact that this town has, you know, people that have been crucified, there's heads on spikes. You know, you've obviously been dead for a little while. We've got heads on spikes. This might be, in fact, this is probably the mayor's body right here in the tire fire. One of these skeletons could definitely be him. Maybe this one that's got all the spikes in it, I don't know. But, you know, it's a really cold, brutal, calculated kind of incident here. And the tone of voice of the voice actor for Vulpes is really, really interesting because he really manages to make it sound like this man enjoys inflicting this kind of damage and causing this much death, and, you know, it just really, really revels in the destruction that he has wrought and the harm that he's caused. He really seems to enjoy the idea of this and of teaching the profligates a lesson. You know, it's very, very twisted and very, very dark, but I think that's what makes it so interesting. And Vulpes is involved in a few quests as part of the main story. Like we saw, you've got Cold Cold Heart, and then when you do get to the Mojave Outpost, you can talk to Ranger Ghost, and she wants you to come and check what happened in Nipton. Although oftentimes, if you're following the normal game path, you might come here before going there, but whatever order, you can say, oh yeah, I've already been there, the Legion came in and killed everybody, you can tell her as well. But later on, when you get to the strip, you are approached by representatives of both the Legion and the NCR, once you've kind of dealt with Benny and got your hands on the Platinum chip and spoken to Mr. House. So in that case, Vulpes will approach you and say, okay, Caesar wants a word, we'll forgive any past crimes against the Legion, just don't do anything else to us and come and speak to Caesar, or Caesar, he pronounces it Caesar, but if you kill Vulpes, like say here, you know, you do have an opportunity to kill Vulpes and his Legion buddies before he gets back to Caesar. So if you do that, then a different man will approach who basically looks and sounds exactly the same. This man's name is Ilario, and he will comment on the death of the fearless Vulpes Inculta and lets you know that Caesar will forgive you just this once, just this one time. Which is pretty generous considering what the Legion do to people that they dislike or disapprove of. As we can plainly see here. You know, it's a mess, and I think that's the thing, you know, that makes things really, really interesting. So if you really wanted proof that the Legion are supposed to be the bad guys in this game, as much as none of the kind of factions really are perfect, and that's the kind of beauty of the main story in this game, is that whichever of the 4 sides that you choose for your ending, it's not always perfect, and you know, not every solution, not every quest has a perfect resolution where everybody's happy and nobody has to lose out. That's often not the case, and that's really the beauty of this game, that you can have that, and the fact that you obviously, the Legion are the bad guys, but you do have that option to side with the bad guys, if that's the kind of playthrough that you want to do, and you can roleplay as somebody who is evil. I mean, you can, you know, every NPC in this game can be killed. The only one that you can't get rid of is Yes Man, because you have to have some way to get an ending, so Yes Man can't be killed, he just jumps to another Securitron. But other than that, pretty much everybody else you meet can be killed, so you can just, you know, you can really kind of lean into that side of things. If you want to play as an evil character, that's an option. But you do have a good faction to side with for that kind of playthrough. Something that I think is lacking in Fallout 3 and particularly in Fallout 4. You know, the Legion definitely suffered a bit. The Legion content in this game suffered a bit from the short development cycle, that they weren't maybe able to include quite as much as they wanted to. Like, Ulysses was originally intended to be a Legion affiliated companion in this game, which is why Wolfhorn Ranch, that's supposed to be Ulysses' ranch, that was where he lived. So you were supposed to meet him there, and then he would give you a Legion perspective on things, but that was had to be cut from the game, and then Ulysses was added in the Lonesome Road DLC, and then you get to know him in that kind of situation. So, you know, that is the case, but even with that, in terms of, you know, how good they are as the antagonists, as the bad guys, they really work pretty well, because you do, you know, you get to see up close and personal what they're all about. We understand what they want and why they want it, and we understand what they're doing to achieve it, and that's the kind of thing. So something to keep in mind for when this month's video essay comes out. We're going to be talking about the Institute, who are the antagonistic faction for Fallout 4, and if they work well in that capacity or if they don't, so keep your eyes peeled for that. I'm just about finished with the script, I think, so hopefully this week I'll be able to start getting the footage and get everything recorded and pulled together. So that should be going live by the end of the month, which is pretty exciting. And we'll be back on Saturday with some more Wasteland botany. So we're going to be talking about some vegetables and the different recipes that you can make with them, so that should be pretty interesting as well. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I do like Vulpes Inculta as a character. I feel like he's a good villain, he's a good bad guy, because he is, you know, he's pure evil, but he revels in doing things the way he wants to do them, and that makes for a good bad guy, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, very interesting. So hopefully you come back on Saturday for some more plants, and we'll see you next time. Bye.